From Austin, Texas to Essex, England, it is the Slipstream Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Dalton, and join with me, as always, my man from across the pond, Mr. James Lingy Lingfield. How you doing, buddy?
I'm not doing too bad. I am absolutely dying in the British summer. And I know you guys over there are like, oh, it's the roads are melting, but it's not even that bad. But it's 31 degrees today. And that is
31 degrees Celsius. Let's say Celsius, which I did the calculations, comes out to roughly 89 degrees Fahrenheit, which is in Texas. That's like, do we have the parkas? Do we have hoodies? That's hoodie weather in Texas, baby.
I hate you so much. even my cat, even my poor cat, whenever I see him, he is like spread as much as he can, increasing his surface area as much as he can. And he always associates, like, he thinks we are all like my family are all powerful beings that control the weather. So if ever it's like too hot or too cold or rainy, he's always like angry at us because he presumes we've done that on purpose. And not like this level of heat, no one is enjoying. It's really not nice. Really not nice at all.
You got to soak it in, man. You soak it in. Go out there, get yourself a lawn chair. All right. Let bask. Okay. Get one of those like Don Draper reflector things that like you put over your stomach, that like reflects the rays onto your.
Squidward used to have. Yeah. I know the one.
Yeah. And get the Zuckerberg face mask, whatever that horrifying concoction is that he put on his face to go to the beach or something, and get a Mai Tai. How are you with fruity drinks? I know you like beer, but like, how are you with like fruity drinks?
Yeah, something like a porn star martini is always pretty good.
Porn star martini.
Yeah, is that not? You never heard of that?
I mean, I've heard of martinis. I haven't heard of like martinis for porn stars.
What's in it? No, they're not. They're not. Porn stars can have whatever martini they want. We are not sponsored by porn stars or martinis.
No, unfortunately.
Not yet, at least. Let's see how it takes off. It's like, I don't know, rum, like fruit. It's got like a grapefruit on top as well, which is cool. I can't believe they don't have porn star martinis in. I've
just never heard of it. I mean, I'm not the most like knowledgeable. I'm not a mixologist by any chance. I'm not like a cocktail expert. So it may exist, and I just never ordered it. But I've always just gone for the straight vodka martinis.
It's like the chicken. Like the chicken strips and chips of martinis. If you go into a cocktail place, no idea what to get, pour some martini, please. And that's like a sex on the beach. It's kind of something that everyone knows. If you panic and you don't know what to do, that's your go-to,
Yeah, definitely. I got another phone call just now, and it's probably going to ruin that video sync. So I got to do another thing in post, because thanks, spam callers, for calling in the middle of my podcast. So,
wow, isn't that terrible? That's so annoying, man.
It's the worst. It's the worst first world problem. Do you get those at all?
I get lots of
spam calls over there.
I'm in pretty good shape for someone that's been in a serious car accident every other week. That's not my fault, but I could be entitled to compensation. It's amazing.
Really?
That's what they say.
You got me.
You've been in this. We heard you're in a serious accident. That's not your fault. I was like, wow, I'm feeling very healthy for a guy that's always in serious accidents. It wasn't my fault,
Yeah. It's like, oh wow, I was in an accident that I'm not even aware of. So yeah,
wow, it was that bad. I don't even remember it. Wow.
Yeah, I love the emails that you'll get for like, you're entitled to compensation from this lawsuit because you used this one app 3 years ago to order like a bottle of tequila, and then you look and it's like each recipient is entitled to $6.87, and then it's like a 14-page form you got to fill out. It's like, what is this? What's going on?
That's the sort of thing Haas would take them up on that. They're that strapped for cash.
They would, yeah. They're definitely like filling out forms for $6 and everything. Anyway, enough spam talk. We've got a race to talk about, and a crazy race to talk about. How much time do we devote to one corner? I mean, that's kind of the question here.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll get to that in a second. But disappointing weekend all around as a Red Bull fan. If you're a Lewis Hamilton fan, if you're a native Englander, so take us through the emotions of being a Brit, and the cup finals loss was tough.
It
had to be tough.
Yeah.
It had to be a tough thing. It had to be a tough thing to go through. You texted me that night and you're just like, I'm ready to die. I don't want to live anymore.
I feel sick. Yeah.
I'm standing on the edge of a bridge and I was like, hey buddy, like maybe like don't jump off the Golden Gate Bridge. Also, how are you at the Golden Gate Bridge? Because you live in England. And it was a tough loss. I think, and let's just talk about this at the top, which was Hamilton's celebrations in context after an entire country lost a final like that. For a hometown boy to come home and win a race that's probably the race he wanted to win this season. Like if he only had one race to win this season, it's going to be the British Grand Prix.
Yeah.
And celebrated in kind. I thought the flags out the top of the window, the victory lap, that was iconic. That's pretty great. Like if someone was like, do you want a poster of this? I'm like, yeah, I'd be like, yeah, sure. I'm never going to actively root for Hamilton just because I'm not a native Englander and I don't root for the Yankees in baseball. So like, it's kind of, never going to disrespect him as a driver because he's incredible. And we could talk about that later, just different things. Cause his dynamic with Verstappen right now, is pretty interesting. Just the mental game itself, but the celebration was pretty cool. It was pretty cool to see him bring that home and then definitely make the championship more interesting, like you were talking about last episode.
Yeah, I think there's been lots of sort of discourse about the crash, which I'm sure we will get into. There are so many different takes on it. One I've seen that I really don't agree with. I've seen some people saying it was distasteful, sort of using the argument that I've seen a lot is, Lewis put Max in hospital and he's celebrating. I think firstly to say that someone going for precautionary checks as his procedure is being put in hospital is a bit harsh. And also Lewis was told on the radio, he's all right. He's walking out. I saw an interview actually with Lewis after the race when someone mentioned the Max in hospital. He said he didn't know. And I believe him.
And how much are you going to know?
It's not like Bono's like, oh yeah, by the way, Lewis, your right tire is 104 degrees. By the way, Max Verstappen is going for an MRI scan. Like it's not relevant at the time. The guy just got out the car.
It would be useful, but
Yeah. I think a lot of it was psychological for Mercedes and Hamilton. I think there'd been so much momentum against them. They wanted to make a sign that they were back in this and they were confident and they weren't going anywhere, which I think contributed a lot to that. I mean, Lewis loves celebrating, but even for him, that was a lot. And I think that's why he did that.
Yeah, I think definitely. I don't blame him for the celebration at all. I don't think it was over the top. I don't think it was disrespectful. Not even typically a Lewis fan per se, like I just said, but like, I'm not going to fault the guy for like freaking out because he won the one race that he wanted to win this season. I mean, you just knew, if you're familiar with him at all, you know that the British Grand Prix is important. It's its 8th victory at that Grand Prix, which is an accomplishment in itself. And it was just great. It was great to see the crowd there. It was great to see, the beginning of the sprint and the feature race, where they're coming out of the front straight and into left field. And that swoop over the turn with, I don't know if that's a drone. I don't know if they got a drone out there because that looks too close to be a helicopter, but like the drone shot or whatever over that corner, which is like a low third gear corner where it's like you have to make your move and you have to plant your exit on that corner to get into the next straight and into Copse. And then you hear the cheers in the background. So they like mic'd up the crowd and it just was like, okay, chills, dude. Like, this is great. Yeah. This is the most beautiful thing I've seen all year, not only for the racing quality, but to see just a crowd there. And it's like, oh, life's happening again. You're like, oh, this is
Yeah. I think I'm biased, but I think it's something that Brits are very good at. We're good at a crowd. We're good at getting into a sport. I think on the F1 circuit, the only place I can really think the rivals Silverstone for, or say rivals, is better than Silverstone for atmosphere is Monza. Yeah. And I'm happy being second to Monza, even in qualifying, I mean, the cheer for George Russell was amazing.
Yeah, it was cool.
And it shows as well how sort of knowledgeable the crowd was. That, you know, obviously anyone can get excited for two people going wheel to wheel, but to understand the context of Russell in the Williams making Q3, F1 just needed that sort of spark back, I think.
Yeah.
And I really think now that everything's opening up again, it's going to be so much better. And I think we will see a real response to that at Zandvoort in 4 weeks for Max's home race.
So excited for Zandvoort.
Yeah.
So excited for that, because I've been driving the track in the game for 2 years or a year and a half or whatever. And it's a short lap. It's a complex circuit, but it's a short lap. You know what I'm saying? It's weird. It's like a 1:08 lap, and it feels like a go-kart track. Honestly, like it feels like a big go-kart track when you're driving it, minus the camber. I don't know how much camber they have in go-kart tracks, but they should have some. So that'd be fun.
Just cool.
Yeah,
but that'll be look even cool.
Just a loop. Let's just make a loop. You know, why not? Just carry speed. Just carry speed, and you won't break your neck. It's fine. But yeah, that'll be exciting. It was a great weekend. It was just a great weekend for racing. The sprint. Let's start with the sprint. So first sprints, it was nice because it was kind of a crash course. In no pun intended. In sprint racing, how that's going to affect the whole layout for these weekends with Formula One. I came away with a pretty positive feeling overall. Now I want to see the rest of them and kind of like see how it affected everything over the year with the 3 races. But I liked it. I liked the weekend. Give them one practice session. Give them one practice session to figure it out. You're a Formula One team. Figure out your car in 90 minutes and then live with it the rest of the weekend. And if you have to make front wing tweaks, cool. But like, you know, that's it. Give them 90 minutes to figure it out. And all of a sudden they're racing on Sunday. So one practice session, qualifying for the sprint on Friday. So you've got a denser Friday, right? So you've got a more interesting Friday. You've got a mini little appetizer race on Saturday. And then you've got the full thing on Sunday. So it's like, man, this actually might work as something to up the value of these weekends a lot more, instead of these 3 kind of ho-hum practice sessions and then a qualifying. So I don't know. What did you think?
I wasn't a massive fan. When I say that, I didn't dislike it. I just didn't really see the point to it. Yeah. I thought, I mean, aside from Checo's crash and Alonso making up places and George losing a couple, there was nothing really that made a massive difference to me that couldn't have just happened in a normal race. Mm-hmm. Jenson Button made a great point in free practice for Austria, and he said basically 2 things he doesn't like about it is, one, qualifying can really mix up a grid. And if someone's where they shouldn't be, it's exciting to see them fight back and try and make that. But with the sprint race, that's far less likely to happen. And at the same time, people are less likely to take risks. You know, if you're 9th and you're fighting for 8th, you're not going to do anything silly and take yourself out of the race for the next day. If we are to keep the sprint system, which I'm not against at all, I'd like it to be like F2, where you have lots of points for the sprint race and then a certain amount of positions are reversed for the feature race. Because otherwise the sprint race just feels like a red flag to me. It's basically like having a red flag after 20 minutes in a race.
Interesting. So for you, it wasn't as...
It was fine. I mean, I didn't hate it, you know. I just see no point to it apart from more action. And then I think it also takes away from like the sanctity and like the grandness of the Grand Prix. That's meant to be like the big focus of the weekend. You have all the support series and the qualifying and the practice, and then the big Grand Prix on Sunday is the main event. And I think when you have a race on Saturday, it takes away from that. I think unless there's a sporting reason for it, I don't get it for me.
Yeah. I think mainly what they're trying to do is add overall like sellability and value to the whole weekend, maybe for ticket buyers, and maybe, you know, viewers too. I mean, especially ever since Liberty took over, I guess it was 2014 or 2015. It's been this gradual upping the ante as far as, presenting everything. Of course, they've got the series with Netflix to bring in new fans. I'm seeing over in the States, I'm seeing these races on my Insta story now, where people are like watching the race and then like putting it on their Insta story, like that was crazy. And I'm like, you're into this? This is insane.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of new fans right now, and I think it might be a bit of a decision to engage those new fans more, and try to bring in those new fans, and then add value to like the tickets overall for a weekend. So if you're buying you're buying a 3-day pass, general admission even, which is fairly affordable, $120-$150 for 3 days, which is pretty rad. Then you're able to see, instead of just 2 practice sessions and you're able to see a practice and a qualifying, and then a little race on Saturday, and then and then the support races in 2, and then you still get the feature. So I think that's probably where they're coming from. I'm gonna need to see all 3. I want to see how it affects everything and affects the championship. But it was interesting. They were safe. They were kind of falling into their slots last like 5 laps or so. You could tell that they were just like, okay, we don't want to wreck. Like, this is good. Let's lay off. Which was, I mean, you can't blame them, because it's I think Checo pit on lap 17, and then like right before finishing, because they were just like they didn't want him to finish so they could work on the car a little bit. So there was something going on with that. I actually don't fully understand that. I was wondering if you had some insight.
I mean, I'm guessing that's what it was. Because obviously he had that spin. I think he made it back to 19th. I think he passed probably Mazepin. And they thought, let's retire the car. And then, like I said, you can work on it. He had, I think, suspension damage or floor damage that needed quite a bit of fixing. And actually, on that note, I'd like to quickly sort of talk about Checo, because people have been very impressed with him and said he's done his job, had a really good season. I'm not as convinced. I haven't been blown away by him, to be honest. He's in the fastest car, and that he's made a couple of mistakes similar to that now. And really, his fight in the championship is with Bottas. And if all 4 of Mercedes and the Red Bulls finish, I'd be surprised to see Perez on the podium at all. And especially when Bottas is in such bad form as he has been throughout the last 2 years, he's not really getting close to him. I think he's done his job. I'd be surprised if he were to be axed from that seat, but I don't agree that he's had a particularly good season, to be honest. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, I'm looking up the driver standings right now, and you brought up a good point with him being in a fight with Bottas. I mean, his main fight is with Bottas. I mean, if he could take I mean, basically it's a 1-to-1 pairing between Red Bull and Mercedes. Verstappen taking Hamilton. It's like a 2-on-2 basketball game, essentially. And so that is a good point, and that's one I haven't thought of a lot. Is his fight is with him. I think overall. So, I mean, dude, Lando's up there in 3, so it's not. It's neither of them. And
what a season he is having, by the way. What a brilliant season.
Oh, kid's a champion, man. I mean, the kid's a champion. He's got at least a couple of championships in him in the 2020s. Sometime this decade, we're going to see him with the championship. I think he's just got too much juice in him to not. There's too much. He's already so confident in his 3rd year. And I would love to see him pull a Senna where he's with McLaren for like 10, years or whatever, where they have a really symbiotic relationship, and they're able to grow that car too, which will also be exciting for the sport, because you've got, especially if Ferrari comes up, and then you've got all of a sudden you've got 4 teams up there rummaging around the front, like the early 2010s, 2012, 2013, stuff like that. You're just like, okay, well, this is cool. This all of a sudden, and it's like, if you can have 4 teams up at the front, you don't necessarily even need a sprint race. You just don't. If you've got 4 teams up at the front fighting with any of those teams with the potential to do something magical that weekend, you got a strong midfield. Basically, you just have a grid overall where everybody's closer together. I don't know if you need a sprint just for just for to improve racing. But I mean, you might need it just for viewership or whatever. But yeah, man, that would be special to see Lando have a championship. That'd be cool.
I think like you said about the new regulations coming in, pulling the whole field closer. I think if we could have like Max at Red Bull versus Lando at McLaren versus Leclerc at Ferrari, and then maybe like George at Mercedes, the next generation of F1 is so exciting. You've still got people like Gasly, who sometimes we forget about, is such a brilliant driver. Mick Schumacher with loads of potential. I think the next generation of F1 could be so exciting. I think Lewis has almost ruined the generation of F1. Obviously, nothing against him. He's not going to not win if he has that ability. But I think having those 4, 5, 6 drivers that all have the ability to win a world title could be incredible, especially if these changes come across. Which actually, on that topic, what did you think of the new car reveal?
It's pretty cool. It's interesting. It's interesting. Actually, if you don't mind, let's stay on that real quick, because I did have a thought to tag on to the end of what you're thinking, and we'll get to the 22 car in a second, because there's a lot to talk about there. It's really fun. I think there's so much new talent that Bottas doesn't have a seat next year. He just doesn't have a seat next year. I don't know where he's going to go. I don't know where he's going to go. I mean, Williams has a long list of drivers that they are prepared to talk to should Williams depart to Mercedes. I mean, I'm guessing Alfa Romeo have a pretty strong lineup of seats. I know that Giovinazzi's in the Ferrari seat. So if Raikkonen, if this is his last year, assuming this is his last year,
surely this is last year now.
Maybe Sauber will pull him in for that Alfa Romeo seat. Maybe. And so it would be another situation where you've got Giovinazzi and then a veteran driver in that seat. And another Finn also in that seat. So another ice sculpture in the veteran Alfa Romeo seat doing that. That's the only viable move I see for Bottas next season. I don't see him at Mercedes again. I don't see him at any other team. They just have too many other options. And I don't know if he'd even want to go back to Williams and drive at the back of the grid after being in Mercedes. Maybe his pride would get in the way and he's just like, you know what? I'm going to peace out and take some time off in my spa and sauna. And, so I don't know. Yeah. So, and that's something I was talking about with a friend of mine. Shout out to Aaron. He's a big listener of the podcast, but I don't know if he's going to be anywhere next. I just don't know. He's a great driver. He can hold his own. But to your point, there's too much talent right now. There's too much young talent. And it's not even about money necessarily. It's just about the competitive nature of all these kids coming in. You see Sainz, who's a little bit older, but you see these kids like Sainz, you see Leclerc, you see George Russell going toe to toe. All these guys going toe to toe with Fernando Alonso, and like not sucking, right? They're just like keeping up. They're like there. And so Russell's battle with Alonso in Austria was, I think that was sort of a foreshadowing of like, these kids can do it. Why have a Valtteri Bottas when you could have a Russell or somebody else in there who's just gonna be more exciting? Like at the end of the day, there's more personality there. Russell's like a very like I don't know what the correct word is with Russell, but his poise is really, I just like his presence. He's a good presence on and off the track. I like how complete he is as a driver. He's got like a really nice, simplistic, like Nigel Mansell style driving, where it's really smooth. And like he's a smooth operator with the wheel and stuff like that, and on and off. He's just you're just like, dude, are you James Bond with the steering wheel? Like, what's going on? So he's just too compelling to not be in a Mercedes seat next year. I think they know it. I think the deal's probably done. They just haven't said anything about it. And of course, if you're George Russell, what are you gonna? You're not gonna spout off anything. So like, I think that's done. And the question is, where does Bottas go? I think the answer is Alfa Romeo or nowhere. So.
I guess I could see him returning to Williams. We actually we never got round to it, but I know we were thinking of doing a prediction for next season of where the drivers would be. And I went with a pairing at Williams of Valtteri Bottas and Esteban Ocon. And I was not seeing him signing his new contract, Ocon. I think Bottas going back to Williams will entirely depend on how Williams rate their chances next season. Because the thing is, it's entirely a complete reset. We completely new cars. We have no idea where the grid could be. And I think if Williams think they have a shot at a midfield, I think then they could look for a Bottas. And I think Bottas would be happy to do that. And again, I guess it depends on Latifi, whether they keep him, which I hope they do. I'd like to see him in a semi-competitive car. But even people like Nico Hulkenberg is not in the sport, and I could see him making a return. Like Jack Aitken and all these like talented youngsters like Guan Yu Zhou and Robert Schwartzman and things like that. I could totally see being brought into the Williams seat.
I could see them being brought into the Williams seat to replace Latifi. Quite frankly, I don't know.
Maybe. That's true.
Because Russell's showing the potential of that car, and so Latifi's a few spots behind consistently, unless it's a windy track, unless it's a Portimao or something where that aero vulnerability is really shown, and so it knocks both of those Williamses down. But Latifi, I don't know. I just don't know. Unless he has a really strong second half of the season, and he gets locked into some sort of contract, I'm not sure what he's doing next year. So maybe he'll stay. Maybe they'll give him another year. Who knows? It's happened before.
I think he comes with a fair bit of sponsorship money. I think he's not like a Mazepin or a Stroll, but I think he comes with a bit of money.
He comes with the Safina money, huh?
Is that him?
I think that's him. I think that's his dad. Oh yeah, he's one of those kids with the dad that like owns half of the Illuminati or something.
Oh, typical, man. Honestly, if I ever snuck into the Illuminati, I'm expecting like Sergei Sirotkin, Stoffel Van Dorn, like all those like average drivers from like the mid decades. They've got to be there somewhere, 100%. Like your Timo Glocks and people like that, 100%.
And speaking of Stoffel, like if anybody's trying to avoid the Stoffel Van Dorn scenario, it's got to be George Russell. So that's because Russell is walking a fine line where if he doesn't land at Mercedes, I guess he's safe at Williams if he wants to, but like there's not many options for him. And if he lands at Mercedes, he's got to perform and the pressure's on, or else he'll pull a Stoffel. He'll find himself driving electric golf carts in a couple of years. So I don't think that's going to happen with him. I think he's too talented.
Surely not.
Let's get to the race. Let's get to the big kahuna with the corner we've all been waiting for, and the incident that we've all been talking about. I can't wait till Hungary, where there's something else to talk about on Reddit for the next just r/Max Verstappen and then r/Lewis Hamilton are just the most insufferable subreddits right now on Reddit.
I can imagine.
Just like diagrams, like it's the grassy knoll, just like JFK assassination diagrams. It's like, okay, so if you could see, it's like, dude, it's not very complicated. It's really just a thing where these guys are wheel to wheel, and the gap closed, and it was inevitable all season. We saw it back at Imola. We're like, this is gonna happen at some point, and it just happened to happen. I was pretty livid Sunday, and we texted back and forth, and I was like, that penalty's too weak. And viscerally and like emotionally, that reaction initially, I was just like pretty pissed. But I mean, the more I think about it, the more I look at it, it was definitely just a racing incident. I don't know. What are your initial thoughts?
Shane Bear, the YouTuber, I don't know if you watch him, he's brilliant.
Yeah.
Did a really good video on it yesterday, and sort of I agree with that, in that it's sort of 55-45 Lewis's fault, or 60-40 Lewis's fault. But there's a margin of racing incident, and I don't think racing incident has to be dead 50-50. I think if you had to say it was someone's fault, it would be Lewis's. But I don't think it's enough Lewis's fault to warrant a penalty. I think the really interesting thing is, no matter what side you're on, no one seems to agree with the 10-second penalty. It seems you either think he deserved a drive-through or a stop-go, or you think it was a racing incident.
I don't know if I disagree with that 10 seconds. I mean, it's like they had to give him something, and I don't know. What do you think they should have done?
I think they should have left it. I think the 10 seconds, to be honest, was a bit of an appeasement to Red Bull, to a lot of the fans. Because just, especially as you said, with casual fans, I think they must be aware of casual fans watching. And if you don't understand the dynamics of who has the corner and understeer and things like that, then you see one guy crash into his championship rival. Championship rival is limping out the car. And as a casual fan, you think, how can he get away with that? And that, to me, I think if they really thought it was Lewis's fault, they surely follow up with a drive-through or a stop-go or something really serious. So I get why they did it, and I'm glad he still won the race, because I think he deserved to. It was still a brilliant drive. He was comfortably ahead of his teammate, even with the penalty. And that was a bit of the old Lewis Hamilton. And I think now it sets us up fantastically for the rest of the season. Because Max on Instagram was seething, wasn't he? I heard a rumor
just so lame, dude. It was the lamest post I've ever seen in my entire life. It really was. Like, it was like drama queen. I like to call Max a diva a lot, but like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, their celebrations are disrespectful. It's like, dude, what? He's like a vindictive movie villain, just sitting back, just like, celebrate now. I'll be just stroking a cat in his hospital bed, like, celebrate now, and I'll be back for you in 2 weeks in Bucharest. Or it's just like, and of course they're going to Hungary, which is like a very spy movie city. So it's like, but it's just, I mean, he swung wide and Hamilton's car turned in, which it makes sense for the two cars. It is what it is. It's if you look at the aero and the setup technically for these two cars, Lewis was on the limit of what he could do with that car. We know that they're running a lower downforce setup. He's on the limits of grips, especially on that corner. That's a fast corner. That's one of the fastest corners in F1. It's very unfortunate that it happened there. But he ran a tad wide, and Lewis turned in a little bit. It's all there is to it. I don't know why it has to be this grand conspiracy with people. It's a car with low downforce kind of gripping in, and it's a car with, or rather, it's a car with high downforce gripping in, and it's a car with lower downforce kind of turning a little wide to get some more grip into those tires. So it's doesn't really bother me that much. I think the social media outrage afterwards bothered me more, they're like, well, why is he celebrating? It's like, dude, because he's English and he just won the British Grand Prix after his country lost an entire, soccer final. So like, yeah, of course he's going to do that. I don't even think he knew potentially how bad it was until he got out of the track anyway, or like at least that he was hospitalized. I think you mentioned that earlier. Yeah. But yeah. Yeah, man. I just can't wait till we're talking about something else. But it does set up the rest of the season perfectly. I want to see more like just fiery hate in F1. I want to see I want to see those rivalries, dude. There's a lot of this like, gentlemen's agreement. We're just all out there racing to the best of our abilities. Like, yeah, dude. But also, like, I want to see you hate each other. Like, I want to see you out there, not like real, like not like a kill your mother or whatever, but like, I just want to see like actual fiery rivalries of just like you wonder if they're gonna. They won't, because it's two of the most consummate professionals of all time. But like, you wonder if like when they get out of their cars, if they're just gonna like start swinging helmets, just like NFL style, just like, is this gonna happen? Maybe. I doubt. I'm just wondering. I'm skeptical, So
I'd love to see that though. Lewis said he was going to offer to sort of speak to Max and clear the air. As did, I think, Michael Massey said he was willing to sort of broker the conversation. I really don't. I really hope that doesn't happen, and I hope they carry that hatred onto the track. Because you just know turn one of Hungary is an extremely heavy braking zone. You just know they're going to be side by side and neither's going to brake first. I think what would be hilarious if they both DNF on the first corner. Neither's willing to brake for the other one. and then just Bottas swerves through and takes a win.
No, Lando takes the win, dude.
Actually,
first Lando win.
Yeah,
if they should just go full. Look, they're trying to bring in the victory lap truck or whatever for the sprint race and the wreath and all this, like, just BS, and it's like, just go full wrestling with it. And you bring Lewis into the hospital room after the race, or Vince McMahon. Or Vince McMahon, or you go full wrestling and have Lewis dressed up as a nurse, like the Joker, like Heath Ledger from the Joker, and he's like dressed up and he like backs in, like looking at his charts. He's like, "So how are you feeling?" And he's like, Max is like, "Well, my head slightly was," and he turns around and just DDTs him in the bed, and then he's just like, "Oh, well, what's gonna happen now?"
By God, it's Lewis Hamilton. By God, JR. That's my best. Larry the King.
Yeah, the JR guy that was just like, "Dude, are you commentating wrestling? Or are you like doing you should be doing a cattle drive right now. Like, what's going on? Like, why are you in a wrestling rig?" And just, but go full wrestling with it. If you're going to do all the antics and stuff like that. I think the sprint, I think they're just trying stuff with the sprint. It's just like, what is this, like, cattle car? Like, what are we on, a hayride? What's going on?
Oh, it was so bad.
Cringe. It was so cringe. It was like so bad, but like in a bad movie way. You're just like, this is kind of entertaining, but also like, why? Like, why is this happening?
They all looked unimpressed to be there too. Like, it was just like a van with things cut out the side. Like, at least have it like open top. I think you said that. If it was open top, it would look so much better. But just the way it was, so bad. So bad.
It was just weird. I don't know why they even had to have a thing. Like, I don't know. It was just a funny thing to have. It's like, you already got the sprint race going. It's already a thing in itself. I don't know. Maybe make like a different platform or a different podium. I don't know. It was just strange. I was just like, what is going on? What is this? Why do we have to, but I don't know. Whatever. Maybe it'll be cool after 2 more races. It'll be like, I'm used to this. But I was just like, okay, well, all right, whatever you want to do, guys. That's fine. So it's the new fans too. There's a lot of new fans that got a lot I feel like they have to jazz it up, and it's just like, you could just highlight what's cool about the sport without going overboard with the stuff. I think that's always the least unappealing thing about any sport is the parts in a broadcast that try to like cater or pander to kind of like the lowest attention span or common denominator thing, where it's like, you gotta appease everyone, which from a business standpoint, you kind of understand. But if you're like into a sport, you're just like, you have to look past it. You're just like, I'm just ignoring this, whatever, and NFL does it a lot. American sports do it a lot with different things. And it's just gimmicks, I guess. And you kind of expect it. There's so much money floating around. There's going to be some like director, producer in the back room being like, all right, so get this. We'll have like a truck, right? But it's like open. We'll give them a reef, Next one, they're going to be like drinking milk, like the Indy 500. And like, okay, what's going on? No, I'm just assuming.
I thought you were serious. Like, that's a strange American tradition to drink.
Oh yeah, have you not heard about that?
Wait, they actually do that? What?
Yeah, at the end of the Indy 500, the winner gets milk. That's just what he gets, like a big carafe of like milk, and like they pour it over him, and he drinks it.
Oh,
and it's a little gross. It's just a little like you're just like, this is a little weird. It's a little strange. Also, can't smell very good. But you just won the Indy 500, so
probably don't care too much.
I mean, yeah, if I just won the Indy 500, I'm like, pour whatever you want on me. It just, besides chocolate, that's sticky. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll save the chocolate for another time. But yeah, what do we got? What else do we got? I'm looking at my thing. Red Bull social media. We already talked about that. Also Christian Horner. Look, Christian Horner with getting on the radio. The radio calls right after that incident were hilarious too. Because you had Christian Horner just spicing it up, saying like, no one sticks a wheel on the inside of Copse. Like, hey man, have you seen the last 34 races at Silverstone? Like, do you know what you're even talking about? Like, that's literally what everyone does on that corner. Is like, oh, it should have been a black flag. It's like, no, it shouldn't. You and I both know that it shouldn't have been a black flag. You and everyone alive should have known that it's not a black flag unless you're like one of those guys that throw the orange Max Verstappen smoke. Unless you are the guy that does the orange smoke at the races for Max Verstappen, and like you carry the smoke canisters in, and then you got like a Max Verstappen t-shirt and the hat. Maybe you have a tattoo of his on your like bicep, which is a little weird. Not going to judge, but you and that guy think it should be a black flag. Literally everyone else in the world is fine. We're fine with that.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
settle down. You know, Toto with the email call. Did you see the emails? No,
Yeah,
I didn't. Because
no, and someone pointed out as well, it's not Michael Massey that makes decisions. He's the director. He does like safety cars and that. He's not a steward, you know.
Yeah.
So why were they moaning to Michael Massey? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just really, it was really funny. Again, it goes back to the gimmicks. I think those FIA radio calls are funny, and it definitely adds to like the dynamic of the rivalry, and like you know, adds to the drama on. So I think it's smart overall to have those, but those particular ones this weekend were just like, all right, guys, like settle down, like what's going on? But also, it's kind of your job as a team principal, especially a team principal in a title fight, to kind of like use everything at your disposal to gain an advantage. I guess that's the game with all 10 teams. But it gets a little tedious sometimes as a fan. You're just like, come on, guys, can we just go racing? Like what's going on? You know, what is this? What are you doing? You're killing me. F1 2021 rather, came out this past Friday. You've gotten it? I know you have it. We just started our 2-player career mode with Team Haas, which I don't hate it because I like those Haas liveries this year. They're cool. They grew on me a lot.
Yeah.
So, but it's a fun game. It's cool. I wish it had some more features that it doesn't have this year. But I like it. It's pretty fun so far. I like the handling, a little understeery. Got to get used to the setups. I think the setups are going to be approached differently this year. But it's a cool game. Breaking Point, I've started it. I'll probably finish it at some point. It's not like I'm not the target demo for that feature.
Yeah.
But like it's fun. It's cool.
It's okay. I think it's okay.
The game overall or Breaking Point?
Breaking Point. It's pretty cheesy. Yeah. It's I think it's a shame in a way that like it's cool, it's fine, but how much time did that cost? Like in development time, when we could have had Imola, Portimao, and Jeddah. You know, I think I'd much rather that than a gimmicky sort of side mode that I'm never going to play after I finish it. You know?
Yeah, definitely. It's a good feature. It's fun. Again, it's something else to bring in new fans. Which look, let's make peace with the fact that we are into and talking about a sport that's in a huge growth period right now. Yeah. So I don't want to gatekeep and be like elitist with it and be like, oh, you know, these, you know, so I understand. But at the same time, as somebody who's like I'm pretty nerdy about it. I'm sure you are too. And a lot of people listening are too. You kind of wish the game would move towards the side of like having an immersive multiplayer experience with different car sets. I was talking on the Midwest F1 Discord last night, and I was saying like, how cool would it be to have a game, and it not even a Cody's game, but a competitor game by another studio that could snag the rights to F1 and then the sponsors and stuff like that. To have a game that leaned towards like a super immersive multiplayer experience with AI and your strategy calls and the weather forecasts and the penalty system that was like really hashed out and like really well done for online multiplayer. And then on top of that, you had access through either DLC or baked in to historical car entire grid sets.
Yeah.
So you could play the entire grid from 2012, and then you can go a generation back and play the entire grid from 2007. And then maybe 03 or 04, you could play that entire grid. So you could like buy the grid. I would shell out money for that. I'm sorry. I would. That's something as a race fan, as a Formula One fan, I would gladly dole out money for. You know, to have, just to be like, okay, cool. You're in a league. How about tonight for a social race? We'll do the 2004 grid. at,
Oh,
Indy. We'll do it at Indianapolis GP layout. It's just like you
yeah,
could do
yeah.
that, but you have the handling model of the Codemasters game and all the modern kind of nuances that come with these games. The visuals are beautiful, but you're able to go back and play these historic moments. Hey, tonight for a league race, we're going to play the 72 F1 cars, the 72 grid with like Brabham and Early Williams and all that. It's just like, and then we'll also play it at like, Adelaide or something like that. We're able to go to like Adelaide or Old Zandvoort, older Spa, even Monza at that point, so I don't know. Maybe there's a market for that. I don't know if it's a viable market at this point. I know that I'm in it. I know that a lot of people that I talk to in the multiplayer community are in it. Yeah, it would just be fun to have a game like that. And even though this game is great, don't get me wrong, and I'm sure it takes a lot of effort to make a game like this. Codemasters, you did a wonderful job. Doubt anybody's listening for them, but just in case they are, Cody's, you're great. I'm not trying to degrade your work in any way or naysay it, but just from this sort of race nerd fan's point of view, you kind of wonder like, man, I wish I had this game where I could kind of access all this different stuff that would be interesting to play. But again, it takes a lot of resources. It takes a lot of manpower. We just got out of a COVID year, and I'm sure everybody's developing from home. I'm sure that whole team was like developing from home that whole time, which is the fact that they even got a game out at all is tremendous, So yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
Yeah. Any other? What else do you think about it? What else do you think about the game?
I like the sort of I like the damage model. I think it adds sort of, you're a bit more on the edge, which I really enjoy.
Yeah.
I think I really enjoy as well, like the understeer nature of it, but also the second you touch a curb or the second you go over the limit, you've lost the car. And I like the way that you have to push that bit harder because of the understeer, but at the same time, it makes it harder. And I think that sort of margin for error. I think league races are going to be brilliant because there's going to be a lot more mistakes. I think if you can manage your speed well and you can find that edge without making mistakes, I think you're going to be really fast. You'll see how the pros do. I worry that with understeer and dirty air, it's going to be a bit procession-y at sort of the highest level, but we're not that good. I think we could enjoy it.
Yeah, it's funny and demoralizing to like nail a time on time trial in any of the games, 2021 or whatever. And I don't know if you are, but like I try to be friends with like everybody in my leagues so I can compare the times on the friend charts. And so you kind of make some good progress on your friend leaderboard. And then you switch over to the main one and you're just like,
you're so far down. I get you.
Oh, dude, 109, whatever, a Zedboard, I'm crushing it. You go to like the real leaderboards, like 106. You're like, okay, well, all right, what am I?
It's like they're playing a different game sometimes, honestly.
What am I, Ragu Nathan? What's going on? I'm still watching the 2012 season, and that guy's just bad luck. Sometimes his car doesn't even start. It's like, what's up with Ragu Nathan? His car hasn't started. I think he was driving for, who was it back in the day? It wasn't Caterham.
In F1?
It was that other. Yeah, it was like 2012.
Wasn't Ragu Nathan the guy in F2? Do you mean I know the guy you mean.
Carter Kane.
That's it.
I'm thinking Carter Kane. Yeah, Carter Kane, which is a fun name. This is a fun name. That's just a fun name to say. Carter Kane. HRT is who they're driving for. HRT with that. Yeah, and that would. Oh man, tough luck for those guys. Because I'm watching every 2012 race. I just finished the U.S. Grand Prix last night, so I got to finish with Brazil tonight. And there's just like half the time Carter Kane's like he's either in a wall or like his car just doesn't start. You're like, oh man, it's just like
one day.
It's like.
Yeah.
One day he's like that sports movie where like at the beginning it's like the team's all like ragtag and they're just like, I don't know if we could do it, and this is like we could do it, and then there's a montage and somehow they like get skilled within the montage and then they end up beating like the top team somehow. But that's not how it works in the real world, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
HRT would go on to dissolve quickly after or change in on another team. I don't remember what they did, but let's go on to Midwest F1 championship results from season 3. of course, Midwest F1, the league that I race in, and Lingy reserves in from time to time, and then he reserves, and then he almost wins races when he reserves. So like, hey man, cool, that's
600.
fine.
I'm still bitter about that.
Just
600.
I'm not jealous of you at all. I'm not. You know what? Jealousy? No, I'm not jealous of you at all. Did I tell you I'm not jealous of you?
No,
did I mention that? Okay, just making sure. So look, season 3, great season. We got season 4 coming up on the new game. I'm really excited for. I think we're going to start that in the next couple of weeks. Trying to get a PlayStation 5 if I could find one. I don't know if you've been hunting.
Oh, no chance. They just don't exist. I'm convinced they don't exist.
Just unexistence. Yeah, I think they're made in like an elf cottage somewhere. Like there's a elf cottage out there in like maybe Newfoundland that makes all the PlayStation 5s. And then they release like 30 a month, and they just kind of disperse them. Like they sprinkle them around to different places. And that's how you get one. And if you don't get one, then sorry. So
that's what Sergei Sorokin's doing these days. He's making PS5s in like a mountain in Tibet somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. And Kardakan too. He's
the two of them.
The two of them are helping the elves make the PlayStation 5s. That's where HRT sent them after 2012. So let's talk about championship season. What do we got? So Division 4 is on my screen because I didn't have enough room. Also, shout out to Valentine94 from the Midwest Discord for making us this graphic. Looks incredible. Season 3, Drivers Champion, Hammer 383 RS, taking away the championship. And we got a Season 3 Constructors Champion in Division 4 of Williams, with Dead Text Message and Nitwit driving the Williams, the Sofina Williams of the 2020 season. Division 4, interestingly, is the only constructor to not have the championship driver in the constructor team. So that's interesting. So Dead Text Message and Nitwit taking away the constructors away from Hammer and his team in Div 4. Div 3, we've got Houdini 1313 and Ferrari taking away the constructors, with Ferrari being Houdini and It's Heavy S being the two drivers for that team. D2 driver Will Ans, of course, just crushing it every week. That guy's a maniac. Just see him behind you, you just kind of die, a little bit. Every time I saw him, I would just kind of
just let him go.
Just die a little bit. Yeah. Like if you look behind you and you're just like, okay, well, I'm dead. So constructor AlphaTauri, for D2 constructor, him and El Capitano. Shout out to El Capitano too. Great season. That dude is one of the cleanest drivers I've ever. It was, I think we had a really great battle in Russia, and that was like my first kind of like good defensive battle. Yeah. In a car. So I was like, oh man, this is cool. I can kind of like get defense done a little bit. So El Capitano and Will Ans taking the constructor. Shout out to those guys. D1 driver championship, of course, Mystic Joker taking that to no one's surprise or bewilderment. As surprised, no one was surprised or bewildered at this drivers championship. I think we could say that safely. And the constructor going to Williams once again with Mystic and Kenny driving those two cars. We ended it in Singapore, man, and that was wild. That was super wild.
That's the race that just never ends.
It never ends. It's like the Lamb Chop song. It's the song that never ends. It goes on and on, my friends.
If it's raining and you have safety cars, that race can easily go. Like 100% race can easily get to 2.5 hours. It is. Oh yeah. Oh, it just takes forever.
Long. It's like a long lap, and they don't shorten the lap count either. It's not like Spa where it's like almost a 2-minute lap, but you only got 22, 26 laps. It's like, oh, this is a minute 40 lap, and you got 32 of them. Good luck. So you're just like, okay, well.
And there's always safety cars as well. There's always safety.
Always a safety car. Always a safety car. Ours was interesting because I was going to try a medium soft. And just stay on the mediums for as long as possible. And then like 5 laps to go, switch to a soft, if I didn't get a safety car, or if I just didn't bin it or anything and I had to recover, if everything stuck to plan, I was going to try to do medium, soft. I was like, cool, I'll probably got a good chance. Mediums are just good on that track. They don't fall off and you still got enough kind of speed. So I didn't want to get on the hards though. You just bleed time. On the hards, it's just driving on glass. But what I ended up doing is going from medium and then to hards because I had to pit early. And then from there was rain coming. So I stayed on the hards until the rain hit. And ended up only needing to do a 2-stopper, which was still cool.
Nice.
I kept my stop count down and then edged out to a P7, which was
Nice.
like cool. If I could just end the season with a top 10, I'm fine. And at Singapore, no less, like, okay, well, this track is painful. They make that track as painful as your corporal punishment if you're like caught with an ounce of pot in Singapore. Do you know that they like lash people in Singapore? This is a real thing. I don't know if it still happens, but if you are like a tourist or something, they don't care. If you're vandalizing property, caught with like any sort of amount of, I just saw this on a documentary once. It was like they will lash you in the middle of like a courtyard or something. It's pretty wild. I don't know if this is still the same. Might want to fact check it. But I know that for a while, even if you're a tourist, they have very strict like vandalism, drug laws and things like that. So they just want to make their tracks as painful as their punishment, their vandalism. That's all it is. It's like, hey, come here. It's a beautiful city. But you're gonna hurt is all I'm saying. You're gonna pay for this beauty with pain. And that's Singapore in a nutshell,
And the great thing is the great old US of A is, of course, really lenient with drug laws, and they've never been overly harsh with drug. Good old Kamala Harris. You think Kamala Harris has ever said the word "seize him" in a conversation? I feel like she has.
Probably. I just know that all her social media account posts look like they were written by a writer from House of Cards. You know what I'm saying? They just all look like they're the same. Like the House of Cards writing team writes her social media posts because they know how Claire Underwood works. So they're just like, okay, well, you're basically Claire Underwood, so it's fine.
The next time she walks into a room, I think we need like dun 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 dun, like flanked by 2 security people. Oh man. Well, look, before we dive too deep into politics, let's go ahead and wrap it up there. Yeah. Sorry, I got
no, it's fine. It's fine. It's just we just want to stay away from the politics.
No, of course.
In this podcast, because who wants to hear it? Dude, what if we were just like, let's talk about the race, and then like one day we were just like, look, did you hear about this filibuster the other day? And it's just like we just go off the rails.
Yeah.
Just like every single listener is just like, all right, well, skip.
That's it. Done. Yeah.
Skip that. All right, that's the end of that episode. So anyway, what do we got coming up? Hungary?
Yeah. Excited.
Not this weekend. So we got a break weekend this weekend. I'm going to do a 100% race Midwest F1. I'm hosting it tomorrow night. It's my birthday weekend. My birthday's Saturday.
Oh, nice.
So I'm just doing all of the stuff I want to do. I'm going to barbecue with some friends Saturday, have a good little low key time here at my house, and Friday night host a 100% race. I wanted to do that for a long time. Just 100%, stick it out, We'll see if you can survive. We don't even know the track. We're going to do basic setups. So basic setups, 100%. And Pork Chops is going to pick our track the night of, like 30 minutes before. So we'll, it's going to be a little toss up. It's going to be fun. So again, I think it's just going to be one of those survival situations. Survive 100%. That's the name of the game. So anyway, James, what do we got? We got Hungary coming up. All right. I guess we're out till Hungary.
Cool.
Any closing words? Thanks for doing it again. Thanks for the time.
Just look forward to the fist fight on track at Hungary, which I really hope happens at some point. I cannot wait. Going to be such a great race.
Yeah, Fisticuffs in Bucharest. That's the name of
That's a new James Bond film. Not From Russia with Love, but
James Bond, Fisticuffs in Bucharest. All right, everybody. This has been the Slipstream Podcast. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and until next time, keep pushing.